I wanted to talk about something a little bit different today because we're going to go into the whole October sort of thing, and the poem that I'm going to be using sort of as the centerpiece of this video is going to reappear on the channel. It's going to reappear on the channel fairly soon, but I don't have a timeline yet. It will probably be sometime in November, but I have done a video in the past called Home Base Poems, and what I refer to as a home base poem is a poem where, for whatever reason, you can't get back into poetry. You can't read poetry. You can't read poetry. It's a poem that gets you back into poetry. It's one of your favorite poems. It's a poem that you can always go to and find something which is new. It's a poem that resets you on whatever it is that you find poetry to be. I happen to really love the idea of poetry as a tool. So for me, I Died for Beauty by Emily Dickinson is kind of that poem. I can always go back to I Died for Beauty and be struck with the argument, what is truth? What is beauty? Be struck with the argument, what does it mean to die for something? Why would you have to die for something? Is it necessary to die for something? Is it literal to die for something? All of these different things. Why does the moss cover their names the same time that it covers their lips? Are they synonymous in silence? What is going on there? So that's what I love about poetry. So that's why I can turn to that poem and return to poetry at any time. Sometimes, if I am having a hard time making content for this channel, I have a poem that I need to review. I will pull up that poem in order to get back in the mindset of reading poetry and talking about it. But I want to talk about something that's a little bit different than that today, and I don't have a name for it. The only name that I can think of for it, and hang with me here because you're going to hear this and not understand what I'm talking about, is ISIS poetry. Now, you can understand why calling something ISIS poetry is not going to gain a whole lot of traction on the YouTube apparatus. But Isis was the wife of Osiris in Egyptian mythology. And the reason that the only thing I can think of to call this type of poem is an Isis poem is that part of the mythos of Osiris and Isis is that Osiris was at one point, I should have looked this up before I hit record. I think it was Set or Seth, depending on how you interpret the actual, the name there, who was Osiris's brother. They got in a battle, and Osiris was torn to pieces. Now, I might have that completely wrong, but at some point, somehow, Osiris got bit and pieced around creation. And his wife went and collected those pieces and put them back together. What I want to talk about today is the art and act and practice of finding poems that put pieces of you back together. Poems that have some bit of you inside them. And when you read them, you get that back. You are returned to a more full version of yourself. And the poem in question today is from Emily Dickinson, I'm Ceded, I've Stopped Being Theirs. And it reads as such. I'm ceded, I've stopped being theirs. The name they dropped upon my face with water in the country church is finished using now. And they can put it with my dolls, my childhood, and the string of spools I finished threading too. Baptized before but without the choice, but this time consciously, of grace unto supremest name. Called to my full, the crescent dropped, existence's whole arc filled up with one small diadem. My second rank too small the first, crowned, crowning on my father's breast, a half unconscious queen, but this time adequate, erect, with will to choose or to reject. And I choose just a crown. I think that sometimes all of us fall to the lurid lowliness of life. Sometimes we get caught up in what are the daily rigmaroles that weigh us down. And those things tear us from some of the character that is inside of us. Personally, I am very, very vulnerable to this. All I do is work, really. I go to work. I work on this channel. I work on several other things that I do online. And sometimes I forget that I do have this chutzpah inside of me. That's what this poem is to me. This poem is, there's a little bit of arrogance here. There's a little bit of self-righteousness here. There's a little bit of defiance here. And I feel that when I am at my fullest me, all of those things come into play. I am a little bit self-righteous. I am a little bit arrogant. I am all of these things that say, hey, you don't own me. I don't want to be owned. I am independent. I am an individual. And when I let the world win, it's what that's another, if we're talking about things that I call things, that's what I call a day where you get up, you go to work, then you're so beat up after work, you go home, you sit down and you watch TV, you surf the internet, you doom scroll. I call those days letting the world win. And I haven't let the world win too terribly much for a few years now, but that doesn't mean that I don't let the world weigh me down. There are constituent parts of what it is that I consider to be me, that sometimes those knobs get worn to nubs. They get ground down by what it means to exist in this world. This is a poem that takes me back to that. This is a poem that every time I read it, I'm able to look at it and say, hey, I haven't been me lately. I haven't had some of that attitude that it is that makes me me. I haven't had some of those shiny bits of me lately. Do you have these poems? These poems that you have grabbed onto and said, this is me. Bluebird by Charles Bukowski is another one for me. There's a bluebird in my heart, right? This idea that, hey, this guy that gets worn down, this guy that is all serious, this guy that is this guy that's probably too gruff for anyone's good, this guy, that's not all I am. Bluebird by Charles Bukowski reminds me of that. This reminds me there is a little bit of shininess in here. There is something to really go off of when the day doesn't provide. I can do that. I can make when I am not given. That is what this poem reminds me of. And one thing that I would like to encourage, I know especially on this corner of the internet, I take some guff for AI. I don't use AI for my videos. I don't, so I will use it for graphics sometimes, but I don't use it for the analysis of literature. Sometimes I will use it to sort of find the general consensus on something. Say, hey, what is this poem supposed to be about, right? But if I incorporate that in my video, I talk about it. And this is what the general consensus on this poem is. Here's where I'd like to take it. But one thing for which I have used AI unapologetically, and I will never apologize for this because every tool has its use, and golly, guys, this tool of artificial intelligence sure is good for this, and it has benefited my reading life. I defy you. Come up with some things that you think you believe about yourself. Maybe you pride yourself on your work ethic. Maybe you pride yourself on your intelligence. Maybe you pride yourself on your empathy. X, Y, and Z. Go into an AI. Maybe it's Grok on Twitter. Maybe it's Google. Maybe it's ChatGPT. Probably somewhere along the line you have access to one of these large language models. And say, hey, give me the top 100 poems about a person finding empathy. Give me the top 100 poems about a person proving his work ethic. Give me the top 100 poems about an intelligent person who needs to be humbled. Do that. You'll find these constituent poems, these ISIS poems. You'll find these somewhere along the way. This is a practice that I hope, not the AI thing, but these poems, finding poems that remind me of little trinkets from my soul, that remind me small things are in there. This is a poem that I didn't even realize this about until I had made the poetry discussion, which will be coming up on the channel at some point. This video, by the way, will be in the poetry discussion playlist and the Emily Dickinson playlist. But I didn't realize that I felt that way about this poem. I always kind of thought it's just one of my favorites, right? If You Were Coming in the Fall is one of my favorite Emily Dickinson poems. Because I Could Not Stop for Death, one of my favorite Emily Dickinson poems. I thought that this poem itself was just in that line, but it's not. This poem for me is something much deeper than that. I need this poem in multiple ways. And I believe that not only does it make me a stronger reader to know that, not only does it make me a stronger Emily Dickinson connoisseur to know that, I think it makes me a better person. You know, we are in times that are stressing, to say the least. There's a lot of bad stuff going on in the world, and you sit at home and there's nothing you can do about it, right? You wake up and go to work and there's nothing you can do about it. You're on your drive home at the end of the day. There's nothing you can do about it. The only thing that we can really do is be a stronger self. 99% of the time, the only thing that we will ever be able to do is be a stronger self. And this sounds cheesy, and this sounds self-important. One of the reasons that I have spent 10 years of my life on this channel is that I think that literature is part of the answer. I think that literature, that poetry, that short stories, that novels in general are part of the answer of what it is that we have to do to return to something growth-oriented. Because I think right now a big part of what is scary about the world is everyone seems to be set on their own definitions of things. And if you're set on your own definition of who you are, it doesn't allow growth for who you could be. I think that is what literature does. And I think we have to get back to it. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.